Hi everybody, how's everybody doing today? Today I am going to explain two specific subjects. Sorry it's dark in this room, it's kind of, lights are low for resting for Elijah. So two things. Number one, we're going to talk about how Elijah was diagnosed, how we found out. Back in 2010, I would say about October, Elijah, I went away for like 2-3 hours to do my thing. Elijah, Cayden, and Ronnie all had colds. And so I went by myself and then came back 3 hours later to find that Elijah's neck had swollen lymph nodes. Like within a span of 3 hours, it just like swelled up. So like I freaked out and I was like, okay, there's something seriously wrong here. So the next day I called the pediatric doctor, got him into the pediatric doctors. He was 3 years old at this time. So we spent a whole month on antibiotics, giving him antibiotics while these grew and they were not shrinking. So at first we thought it was swollen lymph nodes. Since they weren't decreasing, we were referred to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. We had to try to rule out some possibilities. Like one, cat scratch fever. Elijah just so happens to have a scratch on his shoulder the same side as the swollen lymph nodes. And they thought it may have been cat scratch fever. So what they wanted to do was take a biopsy, find out if there's anything else that they can rule out. I have this really good sense of when something's wrong, and most moms do, but mine's a little bit strong, and I felt that and sensed that there's something really wrong. So I forced a part of that biopsy to be taken to the children's hospital and have them test it, because I just wanted to make sure everything was okay, and I just sensed that there was something wrong. By the end of October, closer to Halloween, get a call for us to come down to the hospital. So we weren't able to make it to the hospital until November 5th. I think it was like November 4th. It was November 4th, they called and said, we need to see you right away. Can you come down tomorrow? My mom was with me, Ronnie had to work. We didn't think nothing of it. It was very scary at the children's hospital, and they couldn't tell me over the phone. They had to tell me in person. So it was very scary at the moment. We walk into the cancer center area, and then my heart just starts freaking out. I'm getting anxiety, and I'm like, why are we in the cancer center? I don't get this. What is going on? Elijah was with me. We get into the doctor's office, and we sit down, and a social worker comes in as well to distract Elijah for a minute. And the doctor tells us, I'm sorry, your child has cancer. And that was one of the hardest days of our lives. It just never made sense. We never heard of neuroblastoma. She was talking and talking, and all I heard was wah, 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 wah. Like, as soon as you hear your child has cancer, everything else goes blank. Trying to process this information was probably one of the hardest things to ever process at the time. And you're like, what? How? Why? What? You know, you're like, and I'm like, neuro what? Blast what? I had never heard of neuroblastoma before. And at the time when he was first diagnosed, it was a lot more rare than it is 6 years later. Within the last 6 years, there has been so many more diagnoses of neuroblastoma that it's not as rare as it used to be in 6 years. So it's a rapidly fast growing type of diagnosis. It's crazy. He was diagnosed with neuroblastoma. We didn't know how bad it was, what stage it was, and so what they said is they're going to set up some scans to find out the severity of it. Okay, fine. We're all hoping and praying that it's nothing, no big deal. And I would say 2 days later, a day or 2 days later, they said, if he gets any fevers, please contact us. We need you to come into the emergency room. Well, it just so happens Elijah gets sicker, and he ends up having like 104 temperature. So we were told to drive him down to the Children's Hospital emergency room, and that's what I did. And they admitted him from then on, gave him antibiotics, and he was in the hospital for a good week on medicines, trying to get rid of whatever cold he had. Well, in the meantime, while we were admitted in the hospital, they started setting up the scans. We had a bone marrow biopsy, we had MIBG therapy, we had a CT scan, we had a MRI, we had all the scans. We had blood tests, all sorts of scans and tests happening within a week. And by the end of the week, for the most part, we found out that it was stage 4 high-risk neuroblastoma, probably the worst of all diagnoses. So he had the worst cancer out of all the neuroblastomas he could have had. He got the worst of the worst. So of course this was devastating news, and we couldn't figure out why he got cancer, and was very frustrating to us. His very first diagnosis, he had a tumor on his skull, which is up here, that was growing through the skull when he was first diagnosed, and his body was covered from head to toe in solid tumors in his bone marrow. 90% covered from head to toe in his bone marrow, mostly in his legs and his hips. Nothing on his organs, which is really good because we've never really had to have anything on his organs. And then this was showing just tons of little tumors in the lymph nodes, which is why they swelled up in the first place. He had some tumors elsewhere. So we started on the very first protocol, which was a 6-month treatment. It was 3 months of a certain 2 types of chemotherapy, another 3 months of 2 different types of chemotherapy. Went on to radiation, surgery, and we had surgery on his neck to remove the tumors that were in his neck. To this day, Elijah does have slight Horner syndrome, which is not a big deal, and sometimes with medications you could see his eyes kind of closing a little bit more. Please do me a favor, if you don't know what Horner syndrome, I would probably try to Google that so I don't have to sit here another 10 minutes and explain what Horner syndrome is. But it does cause stroke-looking like symptoms. But it's non-painful, it doesn't do anything, it just causes the one whole side of the face to kind of droop. We had surgery, we had radiation, and we only had radiation on this to get rid of these. It killed his saliva gland. Hence, saliva glands are what protects your enamel on your teeth, and so from then on, his teeth started deteriorating. No matter how many times we brushed and flossed a day, he had to go to the dentist and get surgeries on his teeth. He was all silver mouth because every single tooth was broken or cavity or something going on because he had no saliva gland protecting the enamel on his teeth. We had immunotherapy. We stopped in the middle of immunotherapy because it was so rough and so harsh on him that I couldn't handle it as a mother, and we just completely stopped. However, after all this was said and done, Elijah went into remission for 2.5 years. For 2.5 years, we did scans every 3 months, found that he had no evidence of disease for 2.5 years. We were so grateful and so thankful that we thought he had beaten cancer. Well, 1 month, and I think it was in the month of January, we did some routine scans, and we saw some light up, and it was very discreet, minimal disease. So we were able to hit it with chemotherapy, and it was gone like that. So within 3 months, he was back to no evidence of disease. And then 6 months later, we came back for some routine scans again. Second time he's relapsed. Did the same thing over and over again. We started looking into, excuse the beeps, I have a lot of people messaging me on Facebook. We started looking into natural ways of healing, whether it would be cannabis or the alkaline diets to juicing to, we looked into most of that, and we were serious about the baking soda ordeal. We were serious about cannabis. We were avidly giving it to him, and some things did fail because cancer patients, after so much intensifying chemotherapy, their taste buds change, and so you can't force foods down their throat if they taste disgusting to them. I'm not that type of mother who's going to force it on them. If it's not going to taste good, and if I can't hide it, they're not going to eat it. So in the meantime, we had tried all different types of trials, and every type of trial either he relapsed on or he progressed on. So didn't look like there was any saving grace at this point. From then on, to try to make this really long story shorter, because it's already long as it is, from then on, we have been up and down with him feeling better, to feeling worse, to feeling better again, to feeling worse. And in the past 6 years, we have had really, really tough road, a tough journey And we have been able to find the positivity and the joy in the midst of our journey. What's going on right now is that he has tumors on his skull, pressing on the brain. This, by all means, is not a brain tumor. It is not a brain tumor. It is a tumor inside the skull. So let's just say they want to perform surgery on the skull. They can scrape it off, clean it off, and let me tell you, it's not soft tissue. It is a hard bone tumor. So that means the bone tumor is growing into a hard substance. That means it's not easy to remove. It's not easy just to put a shunt up there to remove it from the brain. It is not easy to deal with at all. If they wanted to remove it, they can. They could remove part of the skull and maybe put a plate there. The problem with this is that it's in the bone marrow. So the bone marrow is inside the bone. So tumors inside the bone marrow are not removable unless you do it with treatments. That's all you're gonna get. So even if we remove this one that's pressing on his brain, another one's already growing, and then another one's already growing. So it's kind of like this loss situation where we can't perform any type of surgery on it. Unfortunately, that is the worst news. So the only thing that we can do right now is pray for a miracle and try to do some sort of treatment that may shrink. The radiation we did decreased the top part of the tumor on the outside. It responded to that. But however, underneath, it hasn't responded quite yet. I just noticed that Elijah just started losing a bunch of hair due to radiation. So it may start reacting a little bit, but I don't know if it'll react completely and decrease at all. So we are on chemotherapy right now, and I just wanted to say thank you to every single person who stuck through this video and listened to our story, so you guys know exactly what's going on. Please don't please don't hesitate to ask any questions. Let me know if you have any questions. They don't hurt my feelings. I just am tired of suggestions and people saying, oh, put them on a no sugar diet, because we know sugar, cancer loves sugar. We know cannabis can help feel better. We know about these naturals. We know. We're just tired of the suggestions. What we need right now is support on our decisions, on what we do. If Elijah wants a piece of candy, by golly, I'm going to give him a piece of candy. Why? Number one, it's already too late. Number two, he hasn't eaten in 2 months. If that's all he can hold down, guess what? I'm going to give him anything he wants, because he has not eaten by mouth anything in 2 months. He had a little bit of Chinese food, but then it regressed after that. What is a mother supposed to do? All we need is your support. Thank you for all those who already support us. We truly appreciate you and being there for us at any time I give an update. You guys are so amazing to us. A thank you, I believe, is not enough. So we will talk to you guys all another time, and I appreciate you guys watching all the way through this video, and we'll see you all next time. Ciao. Bye. That's all we care about. Treatments. So, and then anyhow, figure out, or let's see. So anyhow, okay, so we drove down here to the Children's Hospital, and Ooh, 17 minutes later.